Assalamualaikum dear students, and welcome to second semester of dosage form science. Students, in dosage form science in first semester we have covered different topics and that were mainly about the liquid dosage form and semi-solid dosage form. In second year course dosage form science second semester we will discuss further dosage form that contain powder, means solid dosage form, suppositories and enemas, aerosol, inhalation and sprays, and then we will have a brief introduction about the parenterals and oral hygiene products. Students, hope you all are will be in good health and welcome to the second course of dosage form science. So our first topic in this course is powder dosage form. Means it is a solid dosage form. In solid dosage form, we are going to discuss first about the powder dosage form. So let's start with the proper definition of the powder dosage form. Students, powder dosage form. A powder is simply defined as a dry solid substance consisting of large number of finely divided particles that are varying from 10 nanometer to 1000 micrometer. Means these are very small particles and typically obtained by crushing, grinding or comminuting. So simply we can say that powders are solid dry substances that contain varying size of powders or particles on which powder consists, and they range from 10 nanometer to 1000 micrometers. Powders have large specific surface area and surface free energy, therefore exhibiting some physical and chemical properties. Students, the specific surface area is an essential property for a powder and it represents the void space on the surface of individual particles or agglomerates of particles. Means what is, if we want to simplify it, by specific surface area, we means that the blend of powder contain void spaces on the surface. By void spaces means we can say that the particle surface, the surface of the particle is not smooth. There are few void spaces in the or on the surface of the particles. Some properties related to pharmaceutics regarding powder are, these properties are very important before formulating any dosage form from solid substances we use to come across with the powder. So we will have to first characterize the powders and their properties. And regarding that, few important properties in pharmaceutics are particle size, shape of the particle, surface area, density, porosity, flowability. These are the properties that will influence the forming, packing and processing of a variety of dosage form like granules, tablets, capsules, suspensions, dry inhalers. These are the dosage form that contains powder, or you will have to handle powder before formulating these dosage forms. Let's proceed further. Additionally, there are few properties like solubility and bioavailability of drug formulation can be affected by some basic characteristics of powders. As students, we know that solubility and bioavailability are very important for solid dosage form. If these properties are not in the range, then the dosage form will not be able to require its therapeutic effect. Besides acting as a pharmaceutical ingredient such as diluents, disintegrating agents and lubricants, powder can also be presented as a pharmaceutical dosage form. Students, in solid formulations, we know that we have different range of dosages, and to facilitate that dosage form to be actively delivered to the patient, we required some excipients. Means excipients are those substances that facilitate the delivery of that dosage form, and these excipients serve different functions. Like in tablet we use excipients that enable the tablet to disintegrate. Then we use lubricants are used for the proper flow of the powders while you are formulating or compressing tablets from powders. Powder can also be presented as a pharmaceutical dosage form. Like examples are suspension, microcapsule, microspheres, and dry powder inhalers. Students, before their use in preparation of pharmaceutical products, solid material first are characterized to determine their chemical and physical features, including morphology, purity, solubility, flowability, stability, particle size, uniformity, and compatibility with any other formulation components. So these are the important parameters that need to be characterized before formulating dosage form from powders. Now let's start with the particle characterization. The first and the most important thing is particle size. Particle size is a basic property of powder which is essential to powder technology and dosage form design. Particles with different size and size distribution exhibit different behaviors. For instance, smaller particles have greater specific surface area and their bulk density, porosity, flowability, and solubility significantly differ from that of larger particles. These terms will be explained further. Powder is a plurality of solid particles, means there is not a single particles, there are number of particles. The aggregation or the assemblage of those particles are called powders. Powders prepared using different methods or by the same method vary greatly in size and shape. It means that there are different methods for the preparation of powders, and we will study those methods in upcoming lectures. But the reason is that either you use whatever method you use, you cannot actually get the powders with the same size and shape, because we utilize different techniques for powder manufacturing. We grind them, we comminutate them. So the particle size is an important characters, and it vary differently in different method of preparation of powders. The size of a single particle having an ordinary spherical or cube shape can be expressed by the diameter of a sphere or the length of a cube side. However, the majority of particles in powder are non-spherical and irregular. As particle shape becomes more irregular, expressing the size of an individual particle is even more difficult. In order to characterize the particle size of a given powder, the United States Pharmacopoeia USP uses these descriptive terms, and from these terms we then characterize powders like very coarse, moderately coarse, fine, and very fine, which are related to the proportion of powder that is capable of passing through the opening of standard sieve of varying fineness in a specified period while being shaken, generally in mechanical sieve shaker. So this is the criteria which is defined by the United States Pharmacopoeia, and according to that criteria, there are number of sieves through which we will have to pass the powder, and then we will characterize the powder in the following descriptive terms like very coarse, moderately coarse, fine, and very fine. Now, students, this is the criteria which is defined by United States Pharmacopoeia, and these numbers are the sieve numbers, and this is the percentage of the sieves that can pass through the sieve. So very coarse means those powder will be very large in size. If they can pass sieve number 8, all particle pass through sieve number 8 and not more than 20% pass through a sieve number 60, then those powders will be called as very coarse powder. So simply we can say that if a powder has the ability to pass sieve number 8, and if then those powder we will pass through sieve number 60, only 20% of the powder will pass from sieve number 60, and we will call those powders are called very coarse. Now what will be the coarse? If particles pass from sieve number 20 and not more than 40% pass through sieve number 60, those powder particles will be called as coarse. Moderately coarse, If particles of powder can pass from sieve number 40 and not more than 40% pass through sieve number 80, those powder particles will be called as moderately coarse. Now what will be the fine? If all particles pass through sieve number 60 and not more than 40% pass through a sieve number 100, those powders will be called as fine powders. Very fine powders, if all the powder pass through sieve number 80 and there is no limit to greater fineness. So you can see that these are the descriptive terms that are used officially for the characterization of powder size by United States Pharmacopoeia, and these are defined through different sieve meshes. Table 6.1, which is coming in the upcoming slide, present the standard sieve numbers and the openings in each expressed in millimeters and microns. And in micron, sieve for such a pharmaceutical testing and measurement are generally made up of wire cloth woven from brass, bronze, or other suitable wire. They are not coated or plated with any other material. Means that the sieves which are used in pharmaceutical practices are made up of brass or bronze. Students, these are the sieve numbers and these are the sieve openings. So you can see that as the sieve number increases, the sieve openings decreases. So these are the descriptive terms. You can use them to identify the opening of the sieve size. Students, granules typically fall within the range of 4 to 12 seal size, although granulations of powder prepared in the 12 to 20 sieve range are sometimes used in tablet making. So you can say that the powder which are used for tableting or granulation will have to be passed from sieve 12 to 20 so that it will facilitate the further processing of tablet dosage form. Now student, the important thing is that why we characterize particle size. The purpose of particle size analysis in pharmacy is to obtain quantitative data on the size, distribution, and shape of the drug and other components to be used in pharmaceutical formulations. There may be substantial differences in particle size, crystal morphology, and amorphous character within and between the substances. Particle size can influence a variety of important factors, including the following. Number first and most important thing for solid dosage form is the rate of dissolution. Dissolution rate of particles intended to dissolve. And you have an idea that what is dissolution. So drug micronization can increase the rate of drug dissolution and its bioavailability. It means that if we will reduce the particle size, it will enhance the dissolution rate and its bioavailability. Second important property is suspendability. Suspendability of particles intended to remain undissolved but uniformly dispersed in a liquid vehicle. Example, fine dispersion have particles approximately 0.5 to 10 micrometer. Fine dispersions have particles in the range of 0.5 to 10 micrometers, and this property is important, suspendability, so that the drug is uniformly dispersed in a liquid vehicle. Next important thing is uniform distribution of a drug substance in powder mixture or solid dosage form to ensure dose to dose and content uniformity. Next important property is penetratability of particles intended to be inhaled or for the deposition deep in the respiratory tract. Next important thing is lack of grittiness of solid particles in dermal ointments, creams, and ophthalmic preparation. Fine powders may be 50 to 100 micrometer in size. So for these dosage form where we use solid substances that are being dissolved or suspended, so that we can formulate different types of dosage form, especially for dermal products, the grittiness must not be there, otherwise it will produce irritation on the surface of the skin. Now students, let's proceed further. There are different methods of particle size determination. In pharmaceutics, we have different approaches through which we can determine the size of the particle. The first and most important method which is used in industrial practice is sieving, in which sieving is a method in which particles are passed by mechanical shaking through a series of sieves of known and successively smaller size, and the proportion of powder passing through or being withheld on each sieve is determined. Through this process, the particle size range from 40 to 9,500 micrometer, depending upon sieve sizes. So one of the most important method for the particle size determination is sieving. Next is microscopy. Microscopy, in which sample particles are sized through a use of a calibrated grid background or other measuring device. In this method, particle size range from zero point 0.2 to 100 micrometer. Now the next method is sedimentation rate. Sedimentation rate usually utilize the Stokes law, in which we study the settling of a particles. So let's discuss it, that what is sedimentation rate. Sedimentation rate is in which particle size is determined by measuring the terminal settling velocity of a particles through a liquid medium in a gravitational or centrifugal environment. Size range is from 0.8 to 300 micrometers. Sedimentation rate may be calculated from Stokes law. Next method for the determination of particle size is light energy diffraction or light scattering, in which particle is determined by the reduction in light reaching the sensor as the particle dispersed in liquid or gas pass through the sensing zone. Through this method, range of particle sizes from 0.2 to 500 micrometer. Laser scattering utilize helium neon laser, silicon photodiode detectors, and ultrasonic probe for particle dispersion. And through these range 0.02 to 2000 micrometer. Students, you can study these method in details from Remington and Alton Pharmaceutics. These are the books through which you can study the details of these methods, that how we should characterize or how we should determine the particle size. Next method is laser holography, in which a pulse laser is fired through an aerosolized particle spray and is photographed in 3 dimensions with a holographic camera, allowing the particle to be individually imaged, and size range is from 1.4 to 100 micrometer. So you can also determine particle size through laser holography. Next method is cascade impaction, which is based on the principle that a particle driven by an airstream will hit a surface in its path, provided its inertia is sufficient to overcome the drag force that tends to keep it in the airstream. Particles are separated into various size ranges by successively increasing the velocity of the airstream in which they are carried. Students, if we simplify it, it is a process in which there are series of plates are placed, and then we pass particles in airstream, so that when particle passes through these plates, they stuck to the plates, and then the finer particle pass to the next plate. So with the increasing velocity, we can determine the particles from larger to smaller. This is also one of the methods through which you can determine the particle size. In particle characterization, the other important thing is particle shape. Particle shape can be described as follow in journal chapter of the United States Pharmacopoeia 31st edition. Following particle shape descriptors are provided, including acicular, which means slender needle-like particle of similar width and thickness. Those particles which are slender needle-like and have similar width and thickness are called acicular particles according to USP Pharmacopoeia. Pulmonar, which means long, thin particle with a width and thickness that are greater than those of the acicular particles. Next term, flake. Flake, which means thin, flat particle of smaller length and width. Next term is plate, which means flat particles of similar length and width but with greater thickness than flakes. Then the next term is lathe, which means long, thin and blade-like particles. Next term which is used for the particle shape is equant, which means particle of similar length, width and thickness, and include cubical and spherical particles. Students, the shape of powder particles in pharmaceutical application is very complex due to the method of particle formation and the milling method used to reduce the size of the particles. Therefore, the particle shape is often irregular. The surface is very rough, making it difficult to use appropriate descriptor terms to describe the shape of these irregular powder particles. Also, particles in simple may have aggregated or agglomerated into more complex structures which must be accounted for. The most commonly used method to characterize particle shape is the microscopic method. Along with the rapidly developing computer technologies, imaging technology has been well established over the past few decades. It is not difficult to obtain image formation and geometric structure of powder particles. The significant challenge for scientists is how to transfer the image information into a more quantitative description of particle shape. This is the challenge for the pharmaceutical scientist, that how the data from the image will be transformed into quantitative description of the particle shape. Now these are the properties of particle. The first important properties also are particle density. As students, we all know about the density. Another physical property of powder is the ratio of mass to volume. To obtain the density of particles or powders, it is necessary to acquire the volume first. For non-porous solids, the estimation of the exact volume is straightforward. If there the solid is non-porous, it will not contain void spaces in the particles and between the particles. So for those powders, straightforward method is present through which you can determine the particle density. However, for powders with rough surfaces, cracks and pores, the determination of volume is extremely complicated. According to different powder volume representation, the density for particles and powder can be classified as follows. Number first is true density. True density refers to the ratio of the mass of the particle to its actual volume, excluding pore volume and the volume of the gap between the particles. So for true density, you will have to exclude the volume of the pore and the distance or the gap which is present between the two particles. A commonly used method for the determination of true density is helium pacnometry. Helium can readily penetrate into small pores, therefore it is considered that the density measured by helium pacnometry approximates the true density. Conversely, liquids such as water and alcohol cannot penetrate small pores, so the density measured by these fluids is often slightly smaller than the true density. It means that if you want to true density of the particle, the most suitable method is helium pacnometry. If a powder is compacted into tablet using high pressure, then the density of the tablet calculated from the weight and volume ratio, also referred as high pressure density, and the resultant density is very close to the true density of the powder. Particle density is defined as the ratio of particle mass to the particle volume, including the pores within the particle, but still excluding the gaps between the particles. Particle density, if you are going to calculate the particle density, it will contain the pore within the particle, but you will have to exclude the volume that is present between the two particles, the gap, void or empty space which is present between the two particles. A commonly used method for the determination of particle density is mercury intrusion method. This method is used to determine the particle density. Next important property is bulk density. If there is a large number of particles of powder, it is defined as the ratio of powder bed mass to volume of the powder, including both the pores and the gap volume. So bulk density contain the pore volume and also the gap volume between the particles. Next important thing regarding the characterization of particles is student particle agglomeration and aggregation. The terms aggregation and agglomeration are frequently used in powder science to describe assemblies of powder particles in the dry state or in liquid suspension. However, the confusion brought about by interchanging the use of the two terms, therefore these two terms requires that they must be properly defined. So according to the USP, an agglomerate is defined as fused or cemented particles, whereas an aggregate is defined as mass of adhered particles. So students, there is a difference between the agglomerate and aggregate. These terms should not be used interchangeably, as you can see clearly that agglomerate is defined as fused or cemented particles, means one particle is tightly fused or tightly bounded with the other particle, whereas the term aggregate is defined as that the particles are simply adhered to one another by weak forces. So let's proceed further. Wait, student. So hope that the difference is clear between the agglomerate and aggregate. Agglomerate is the combination of particles that are tightly bound, you can say that, and whereas aggregate is defined as that the particles are loosely adhered with one another. Next important property regarding particle characterization is the specific surface area. The specific surface area, as we have discussed before, is an essential property for powder, and it represents the void space on the surface of individual particles or agglomerates of particles. Moreover, the dissolution rate of powder is partially impacted by its specific surface area. The most commonly used method for determination of surface area for a powder are gas adsorption and permeability method. These are the methods which are used for the determination of specific surface area of the powder. Next important thing is porosity. As mentioned, pores of powder particles include the area of the pore interior within the particle and the gap between the particle. Hence, the porosity of powder particles refers to the ratio of the volume of the pore interior and the space between the particles to the total volume of the powder, including the pore interior, the gaps between the particles, and the inherent volume of particles. Powder porosity is affected by many factors such as particle shape, size, and surface properties. Students, when granules and tablets are made from fine powders, they tend to be porous, and the porosity of tablet has great impact on the disintegration time. For tablets with higher porosity, water can penetrate the tablet more readily, resulting in faster disintegration time. Another parameter to express the porosity is the pore size distribution. Many techniques have been developed to characterize the pore size distribution of solid powder. The two most useful are gas adsorption and mercury porosimetry. These are the methods which are used for the determination of pore size, that what size of gaps is present within the particles or between the particles. You can use these methods to identify those spaces. Students, up till now I think it is enough. In the coming lecture we will discuss regarding the solid state, that what is crystallization and amorphous state. For up till now we have discussed about the powder dosage form, and we have characterized the most important properties which are used in the pharmaceutics, and these are particle size, particle shape, then the density of the particles, true density, bulk density, porosity. These are the few important properties that must be understood before formulating any dosage form. Hope students everything will be cleared. Inshallah, in the coming lecture we will proceed further. Thank you very much.